Okay, viewers, welcome back to this session where we have to continue with our questions on diagrams and calculations. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Okay, viewers, the first question we're considering in this session is a question from the basic tools of economic analysis. For those of you who are familiar with the mass angle of these, it's statistics. And then this question is just technical. It's not something that requires too many, calculation. It's calculation question, but you can just go straight to the point. You need one shortcut in statistics or basic tools of economic analysis to be able to kill any question like this. Now, the examiner says if the standard deviation of a given data is 8.2, find its variance. The best thing any students will need to recall first is that variance and standard deviation has a link in shortcut. What's the link? Before standard deviation, you have variance. And from variance to standard deviation, you realize that standard deviation is the square root of variance. Let's recall standard deviation. Okay, maybe I should just put it in short form where we have SD, standard deviation, please, is equal to the square root of, where SD is equal to standard deviation and V is equal to variance. Then bring up the values. This value 8.2 is for the standard deviation. So let's assume it's 8.2 and that's equal to square root of V. If we take a square of both sides, square both sides, we're going to have 8.2 squared is equal to root V all squared. This will take out this, and then 8.2 will give you, let's simplify it, it's 2, 2, and that's 4, 2, 8, 16, 8, 2, 16, you have 1, 8, 8, 64 plus 1, 65, and then you have 4, 2, 1, 5, 6, 7, and then 6 goes down. You count 1, 2, 1, 2, and put your decimal point. So it's 67.24. If you approximate this, it will give you 67.2 still, and that gives you option C. No thinking is required. So 67.2 is my variance. You need a shortcut, you go straight to the point, and you're good to go. In 30 seconds, you can finish up this question, save time for other complicated ones. Now, we have an interesting question here when it has to do with theory of demand and supply. I always say it's interesting. And why do I say it is interesting is because this is where the hub of economics is. I'm saying it again, theory of demand and supply. If you do not have a good knowledge of this topic, you find economics difficult generally. Now, this question is a question from the topic, effect of changes in demand and supply on equilibrium price and quantity. Now, don't forget that we have this topic online. So if you've not checked our video on that topic called effect of changes in demand and supply on equilibrium price and quantity, you need to go and watch it so that you can get a good knowledge of all the 16 cases that were comprehensively explained. Now, this is one of the case that we considered. And if I'm not making a mistake, I think this is one of the special cases, and that's supposed to be case 12 thereabouts. Now, it's not a regular case that, a random economics lecturer will teach you. And I want everybody to give me that attention. I want you to follow and then get this perfectly. Now, the examiner says if a demand curve that intersects a perfectly inelastic supply curve shift is rightward. In that special cases, we made mention of perfectly elastic supply against the demand curve, perfectly elastic against the demand curve. This examiner have lifted a point, perfectly inelastic supply curve. Let's establish that first. For our supply curve, please don't forget quantity in units and then price in there. Our supply curve has to start with a perfectly inelastic nature. S, supply. And then for the examiner, when the examiner is silent about the elasticity nature of the demand curve, please use unitary. And a unitary demand curve is something like this. So unitary, you have the first equilibrium point, trace it to the price axis, trace it to the quantity axis. You have equilibrium quantity 1 and equilibrium price 1. What do we do from there? We obey the instruction. The instruction says the demand curve, this is D1 please, and this S1. The demand curve will have to shift to the right. The shift of this demand curve is rightward. A rightward shift shows what? An increase in demand. Increase in demand, shift to the right, will give us something of this nature. That's D2. At D2, the new equilibrium point can be captured from the point where the old supply curve and the new demand curve intersect. So this is E2 and this is E1, the old equilibrium point. Why do we have to use the old supply curve? It's because we do not have a new supply curve. According to the question, we'll keep this constant and let demand curve shift to the right, which shows increase. You trace that new point of intersection to your price axis, which gives you your new equilibrium price. You trace it to your quantity axis, it gives you your new equilibrium quantity. So equilibrium quantity 2 and 1 will stand at the same point, which means there is no change in equilibrium quantity. But from the adjustment you can see here, you see that equilibrium price has an increased nature. Effect is now what is going to help you choose your option. If you go to the 16 cases we have analyzed on our YouTube channel, you will see that our effect there says choose the answer that has increase in equilibrium price and a constant equilibrium quantity. The only option that will represent or interpret that same option or that same effect is option D. Option D says only the price will increase. This is it. Option A is not going to be correct because only the quantity will increase. No, that's not what is happening here. So this is wrong. Quantity did not even change. This is constant. The prices will remain constant. No, the prices didn't change. They moved from here to here. That makes this wrong. The equilibrium price and quantity will increase. No, equilibrium price increased. Equilibrium quantity remained constant. The two of them are the same spot. That's going to go against this option. So if A, B, C come out wrong, then D is the only one that can be correct. So anytime, any day, even if you have not gone to check our video, this option D is the best answer for that question. All right, the next question is a question from National Income Accounting. And this National Income Accounting question is a 10 seconds question. You don't need to stress yourself because it's just a question that wants to know if the students know the difference between open economy and closed economy. The question says, in an open economy, the GMP is measured as what? This open economy represents an economy that is open to international trade, that give room to international trade. And you know international trade deal with what? Exports and imports. Now we'll go back to the options. I want to eliminate some options because they do not go with what I have defined open economy to be. If export, import are the two major components of international trade, then B cannot be my answer. C cannot be my answer because it accommodates only one part of it. It has to be the two. You rule this out. This also accommodates one. C plus I plus G plus M still makes this incomplete. I can rule it out and then check out what's going on here. X minus M. This is what makes it open. Our best answer is option A. Okay, now we're dealing with a question involving the diagram from the subtopic known as production possibility curve. Now, don't forget, it's PPC. If you don't see it as PPC in the exam, it can also appear as PPF, which is production possibility frontier. So take note. Now, this is a part of the diagram from production possibility curve representing partial shift. We have the total shift of the production possibility curve, and then this is partial shift of the production possibility curve. Don't forget, we have two product or commodity involved in production possibility curve. Consumer goods and capital goods in this case. This shows an outward shift. Looking at the expression in the question, the examiner says the current stage of the economy is depicted in curve. The movement of the curve 1 to 2 suggests, so 1 to 2, I'm trying to follow the arrow. The examiner have made a statement of confusion. So any student who comes across this question needs to be smart. This statement says depicts the current stage of the economy is depicted in curve 1. That's a statement of confusion because the examiner wants you to assume that we have moved from here to here. That's what he's trying to confuse you with. But this is where the question lies. The question says, tell us what's happening if the movement of the curve from 1 to 2 takes place. So from 1 to 2 is a partial shift of the production possibility curve with respect to capital goods only. Partial because it affects one of the commodity. Consumer goods still the same. And there are things that can actually make partial shift occur in production possibility curve. Now you have cases where level of technology favorable to the commodity experiencing the shift or unfavorable to the commodity experiencing the shift. If it is favorable to it, that part of the production possibility curve will shift outward. If it's unfavorable, it will shift inward. Now we have a focus. This is favorable to capital goods, and that's why we're having a shift outward. It means that we can produce more of capital goods with the resources that we have allotted to capital goods. Take that idea to the options. Option A says an improvement in capital goods technology, but not in consumer goods technology. That's perfectly correct. For questions that you do not have much time, in 10 seconds you can actually do this and move to the next question. But because we want to help you understand why others are not correct, let's just consider. So this is your correct answer. Why? Because an improvement in capital goods technology. Let's take, for example, if the capital good here is the harvesting of, let's use corn, for example, and this is yam. If I need hoe to harvest yam, and I need cutlass to harvest corn, when I have more cutlasses to buy, if I'm going to the farm the next day and I'm having more cutlass with me, I am going to harvest more corn because the technology for corn or for harvesting corn as a commodity is now more available. It's an improvement. That means the harvest for that day will be more favorable to corn only and not yam. Improvement in capital goods technology, but not in consumer goods technology. That's why this is still constant, why this one increased. And that's the answer. So for B, a movement from unemployment to full employment. Please take notes. That's only applicable when we introduce production possibility curve, because we have somewhere inside the curve. I'm going to help you understand. If this is a curve, production possibility curve, there's always a point inside, and then there's always a point on the curve, and then there's another point outside the curve. On the curve, you have full employment. It's feasible, full employment. In the curve, you have underemployment or unemployment. That means we have not been able to use all our resources here. But here we have used our resources. For C is not feasible. We cannot produce at this point because our level of technology or resources that we have cannot carry production. Production at C is a different level entirely. Option B is talking about this. A movement from unemployment to full employment. Let's take this out. This is unemployment and this is full employment. And that's not what's happening here. So this cannot be correct. Option C says that the output for the society has declined. That's not going to work because that's only applicable to total shift backward, that the output for the society has declined. So if we're not talking about total shift of the production possibility curve, the society at large cannot experience a decline or an increase. For D, we have a gain in consumer goods technology and not in capital goods technology. That's the opposite of this. So if we had the shift taking place under consumer goods, then option D would have been our answer. Please consider a diagram like this. This would have been for this, because this would have been an increase in the production of consumer goods. So because this is for this, and this is not this, then this is wrong. Option A is your best and correct answer. Anytime, any day, question like this, go straight for option A, and that gives you everything you want. Okay, viewers, with this we have come to the end of today's session of calculation and diagrams in economics. And don't forget to follow the trend of our videos in this topic. Click on the like button, subscribe, turn on your notification, and don't forget to leave a comment. Thank you very much for being a part of CS Academy.